Welcome to our introductory webinar on the new LogiKal. My name is Sebastian Bode, and in the following webinar recording we will go into the basics around LogiKal 12. And what is a better place to do so than the starting page of LogiKal? In the innovations we have taken care to make the paths you regularly take even easier. This starts with the fact that you have quicker access to the corresponding menus for settings and so on here on the left side and here on the top. In addition, the way to the right projects should be as simple as possible. On the one hand, you will find here the well-known last opened projects. In addition, we have also focused even more on the favorite projects, which you can find here. What matters here is not which projects were last opened, but which you want to access quickly over a long period of time and mark them accordingly. Yes, and with that should be a brief summary of the start page. You see, your entry LogiKal is even tidier and clearer with all the direct ways and informations you need with the current news, and here normally also the actual dates. We often speak of an overall office look and feel that we have implemented in LogiKal 12. And this becomes particularly clear when we go the next step into the project center. The first thing that catches the eye are the ribbon here in the top. Here you will find all the informations you need for your daily work, well sorted and quick and easy to access. And this elementary innovation does not only apply to the project center. No matter whether you are in the project center, in the project, in the element construction, or in the CAD, you can always rely on finding all necessary functions in the ribbon. In the lower area, and I would say in the main area, there it is really about the projects. Basically, we can say the information becomes more and more detailed from the left to the right. But I would say let's take a closer look. On the left side here, you will find your folder structure. Apart from the project name, you have no detailed information here, but you keep an overview of all the folders, the favorites, the last opened projects, and so on and so on. In the middle, you get an overview of the projects in the corresponding folder. And here you get some more information, like the job number, the quotation number, and so on. Yes, and on the right, here, you get detailed information about the project. Without opening it, you can see basic data, documents, and also all the individual elements, which you can also open directly from here if necessary. So if you just want to have a quick look at something, you do not need to open the project. You can, for example, open from here directly the project documents and so on. This structure of dividing up the informations continues when we open here a project. On the left side we get the project informations, main informations about the whole project. In the middle you get informations about which positions you have here in the project. And on the right side you get detailed information about the selected position, such as glazing, profiles, hardware, and so on and so on. And as you know from the current version, jumping from here into changing the corresponding components is only a double click away. Here in the project, the office look and feel is again evident. And this also includes, I had said it, the function ribbon here. But if you are more a fan of a right click or perhaps even the shortcuts, I have the right thing for you too. Many of the frequently used functions can also be accessed by right clicking here in the menu. And we have also expanded the available shortcuts and adapted them to the usual familiar shortcuts from the Windows solutions. And you can find all the shortcuts also here. So feel free to try out all the options if you want to use the function in the ribbon, in the right-click menu or in the shortcuts, and then choose the one that suits you best. In the next step, we want to come to the construction. As you are already used to, there are various ways to create a new position in the new LogiKal. We had seen by shortcuts, by the direct button here in the position overview, and also here in the ribbon. However you do it, here you get one new feature. You have to decide only at this point, when you define the position number and the short description and the quantity and so on, what kind of position you want to create. For example, you can still decide whether you want to create a material position, a text position, hardware position, and so on at this step. By the way, if you have used the additional optimization projects frequently so far, I have more good news for you at this point. We have now integrated them into the normal material position. In other words, exactly where you need them so that you can easily combine them with the element and text positions. You will find more details about this in the next webinar. For today's webinar, we want to construct a normal window and this position type we choose here. And here too, what I had already announced applies. The element input also shines in a complete new design. The office look and feel you can also find here. As I mentioned earlier, the ribbon awaits us also here. Okay, the major goal in the development was to make the real important area, namely the area for the elements, as large as possible, that you get the best overview. The first step in this direction were the ribbon, yes, okay. In addition, we have also dealt with the input windows for this reason. They are no longer fixed as you can see it here. You can move them flexibly where you need them. Here on the first screen and also on another screen. That gives you the most comprehensive overview of the element. And if that is not enough for you, you have more possibilities. Let me at first take here in the dimensions for a very easy window. So, and yeah, if you need more space, then you can, as an example, fold in the ribbon and also fold in the timeline. And then you have, more space is not possible. So, and if you need here the ribbon, they are fold out automatically as you need it, and how you want that. Nevertheless, the LogiKal construction relies on the tried and tested, namely the operation of the popular functions. All the functions are easy as you know it. As an example, to add an add-on profile. You choose the site, you apply it, and you have here the add-on profile. It's easy as you know it. And we have also not changed the order of the construction steps, with one small exception, but we come to this later. At this point, I would like to repeat the hint from the beginning. We welcome feedback from your side on the variety of the different ways. That means via status report, via telephone, or simply by mail. We are just as happy to receive praise as we are to receive criticism or suggestions for improvement. Only on this way we have the opportunity to improve the software exactly as you need it. So thank you very much to all of you who have taken the time till today to send us your feedback for the actual version and also for the other versions. But now we want to continue in the construction, and the next step is the glazing. As in the first step, everything is designed to be clear as possible. The flexible input windows do we have also here. Among the new features, two functions have become even more important or have been added here. Firstly, we have here the favorites. In principle, it is exactly what you know from the profiles and the hardware. You configure here your glazing and add it here to the favorites. And then you have your favorite glazings here on the top of the list. These are then available only for you and also usable across different projects. This is exactly the right way to go, especially if you regularly use the same glazings for different projects. Yeah, very often. Here a hint on the side: if you need project-related glaze favorites, remember the fillings in the project specifications. This can definitely simplify your work. A second function I want to show you has been added and should give you even more flexibility. Perhaps you know it, in certain systems you have the choice of different glazing bead seal variants for the same glass thickness according to the different suppliers. From now on, you can choose between them quite individually. As an example, I have brought here an door element. And here you have the chance to change the glazing bead. Here we have the possibility for a filling thickness of 48 millimeters to get a glazing bead of 7 millimeters or with 12 millimeters. From now on, you can choose here individually. As an example, I take here the 12 millimeters, we apply it, and then we have it automatically here in the cross section. I think that's a really great thing, because with that you can improve your possibilities of material optimization even more. Before I continue now, I have a question for you. Did you notice here anything while I changed the element? Yes, as an aside, I've just accessed a major innovation in LogiKal 12, namely the multi-window function. The idea behind this is that the different parts of LogiKal open in separate windows, as you have just seen it here with the construction. This makes it easy to switch between different constructions when you just want to look up something, or if you just want to show something as you had seen it here. An absolute highlight that I will come back to later. I would say we go back to the window and go into the next step of the construction, and this is the hardware. Here you are probably wondering where you can find the additional hardware. If we look on the timeline on the left, we see exactly what I announced at the beginning. The additional articles are moved a little bit to the back of the timeline. And that is exactly where you will find now the additional hardware and the additional machinings. So you have all the additional articles available at one window, so at a glance. On the one hand, this increases the clarity of the design. On the other hand, it makes it even more flexible for you to differentiate whether you want to import the normal hardware or the additional hardware. As example, you can now import here the additional hardware, you can hear the additional articles, and so on and so on. In addition to the improved operation and appearance, we have added an additional function in the element input which of course I do not want to deprive you of. The construction is no longer only about the completion of the element itself. The installation situation and everything that goes with it should be taken into account as early as possible in the construction. And as you know, this also includes the corresponding fixing holes. To take a closer look at this, let's switch back to the element step of the construction. The new function can be found here in the ribbon wall connection. I think the function is very good and very easy to use. LogiKal automatically determines the positioning of the fixing holes on the basis of various parameters that you can set here or in the settings that are automatically here. And of course LogiKal updates them if you, for example, change the dimension of the element. And of course LogiKal takes also into account other machinings. If, for example, there's a machining for the hinges at the calculated position, the fixing hole is shifted accordingly. Another important point to consider is the fastening axis here. For many profiles, the fastening axis is fixed by the profile supplier. Since the function is still very new, we have not yet had the opportunity to add the axis to all profiles. We will of course do so as soon as possible. Until then, please simply enter the axis here manually. I hope in a few weeks you can do this automatically. In the course of the development, we quickly realized that the machining is not sufficient for complete consideration of the fastening. The consideration of the needed fixing material also plays a major role. And that is exactly the reason why you can access here all the articles you have in your database. And not only the databases of your profile supplier, no, also your own database with your own articles you have here in LogiKal. And of course, we have also kept the flexibility here in focus. In the lower area, and I would say in the biggest area here in the construction window, you can of course adjust the settings for each side individually. As an example, you can say, no, we don't want to have a fixing hole at the bottom. And we say, at the top, I need a fixed positioned fixing hole. Therefore, you can easily enter here the dimensions and then the fixing hole is there where you need it. And that you do not have to enter the settings again and again, we have of course also taken into account a corresponding import function here. So in future you can design fixing holes with the corresponding material more quickly and easily. Very nice and very good. And perfect is that the result can be displayed on two areas. The first are here or is here in the machining part. When we take a look on the left frame, you can see here directly the fixing holes. And as you know it, with a LogiKal machine interface, the fixing holes are on the profile directly on your machining center, automatically in addition to all the other usual machinings you know. Yes, on the other hand, and therefore we close it and go back into the element part, you can see also the positioning here. Therefore you go into view and activate here fixing holes. And then you see where you have now the fixing holes. Yes, a nice thing, and I would say to you, try that, and with that you work even easier and faster. If you missed this function after updating to version 12, please check whether you are logged in with the module machinings and bar drawings. Towards the end of this webinar, we come to the last points that I would like to mention for the perfect introduction to the new version. Firstly, there's the topic of the multi-window function. I touched it briefly earlier, but now I want to talk a little bit deeper about that. Therefore, I switch here again to the project center and go one step back here. Basically, you had seen it, the element input always opens in a separate window. And the project center always remains here in the background. That allows you to open additional constructions and one more and more and more. So as you need it and as you want it. I think you have seen enough advantages for opening the constructions in the different windows. Exactly the same also applies to the CAD, which we will talk about more in detail in another webinar. And you can also benefit from these advantages in the project center. Usually you open a project here with a double click. Now you can do that also with right click and open it in a separate window. With one or more screens, it is thus easy to open several projects in parallel. If this sounds familiar to you, it is no wonder. Something similar also works in the Windows Explorer. I have to say, we have taken this as an example. And not only for that, if two projects are already open to each other, and I try that with this project, and I have one more here in the background. Now, that was not right. Now we have here opened two projects at the same time. Yeah, it is obvious to move positions and entire projects between different folders. And as easy as possible with drag and drop. I will show it to you. We take this window, drag and drop here into the other project. We move the position. Important is that we move it and we do not copy that. And then after a few seconds, we have the position here in the other project. I think that makes it much easier to work across different projects here in LogiKal. In the project center and the project area, we have adjusted another point that also affects the work between the different projects. The copy function now behaves as you know it from other software solutions. You can copy here an element by right-clicking and with the shortcut Ctrl+C, and then you have it in the clipboard. And then you are free to paste it here in the same project and also in other project. And as I said, within one project, between several projects, you can do it also with project to change the folders and so on and so on. And I think with this news and advantages, we agree you should not postpone downloading the new version. And this brings us today to the end of the webinar recording. Of course, this was not everything that awaits you in LogiKal 12. And for that, I can definitely recommend the further webinar. Perhaps you take a look at it today or in a few days when you tried a little bit the new version 12. I hope you were able to get a good impression of the new version and are already looking forward to the update. As I said at the beginning, we are always available to answer any questions you may have. My colleagues and I wish you all the best. Stay healthy. Until then.